Hi, and welcome to Flip of the Week. Today, I have a special guest, Steve Geller, a great bass player who's played with me in many different bands. And today,
Thanks.
yeah, thank you. Today, we're going to be talking about the shuffle. First thing we want to talk about with a shuffle is how to establish the tempo. Steve, what do you do?
Well, the first thing I always do is listen to the drummer. The drummer's going to tell me exactly where we are. I try to be very conscious of not pushing the tempo, just letting it sit naturally and easily. That's probably the most important thing that I try to give it.
Me too. I definitely try to keep it very steady and also make sure that if the bass is either leaning back or a little bit ahead, that I don't follow too much so that it creates one larger groove. And then from then, we just keep on going and follow what the solo player's doing. Now you got an idea of a pretty general shuffle between the drums and bass. Now we're going to talk about different styles of feels within the shuffle. First one you mentioned before, Steve, was a walk. What do you usually do for a walk?
A walk is a very standard blues pattern. Most shuffles come from the blues. Playing a shuffle is a very zen kind of thing. You're really not reinventing the wheel. Your job is to just lay down a foundation so the vocalist or the soloist can do what they need to do. So you're playing very simply, be very conscious of note length, and just go from there.
The next example is a box shuffle pattern. Steve?
Well, again, it's a standard blues pattern. You're just going, what is it? It's the 1 to the 5 to the whatever it is to the 4, I guess, to the up to the 1 again. It's something you've all heard a million times. Clapton uses it all the time. All the great blues guys use it. It's a very Chicago kind of shuffle. And again, the simpler the better. Just don't get in the way, just establish the pattern and let it rip.
I want to mention also for those drummers out there, when he's saying those numbers, those aren't measure counts, those are chord counts.
Right.
Chord numbers in the scale.
Yeah.
We're going to get into that in another Flip of the Week on code words. But for now, this is an example of a box shuffle. The last example of a different blues shuffle feel is a two-feel.
Mm-hmm. A two-feel is when you're having the time. Instead of playing a walking like a quarter note on each beat, you're doing half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually on the 1 and the 5 chords. It's a kind of a New Orleans-y sort of feel, and it can be very effective when used sparingly and judiciously.
On the drums, it's also important to make sure you're following the bass. If the bass is playing those notes on 1 and 3, you want to be able to follow that on your bass drum while still keeping the shuffling going.
It's very helpful if you have a drummer who has a really good backbeat. That kind of a thing works really well. It can be really, really effective, and you can really establish some kind of atmosphere by doing that. But you really need someone with a backbeat, otherwise it just gets very jumbly sounding.
All right, so here is an example of a two-feel shuffle. The last example we're going to play is a shuffle idea based on a 12-bar blues pattern, where most blues, as we've talked about, comes from that structure. It's important for drummers and everyone else to be able to count measures. The purpose of that is so that we can support either the soloist or the vocalist, and we have to basically build according to the dynamics. Wouldn't you say, Steve?
Absolutely. That's really what we're there for, is to support the soloists and support the vocalists. You know, you're going to be starting from ground zero and you're going to be building up. It's really the way most solos work. So just be aware of what they're doing, be aware of where you are in the pattern, and go from there.
Here's an example of a 12-bar blues. Thank you for checking out this week's Shuffle Flip of the Week. Send in your comments, questions, concerns, and we'll see you next time.
And keep practicing.